This is one of the wildest bits of news that you've probably never heard about. In Vietnam, a billionaire real estate tycoon just got sentenced to death for her role in the country's biggest ever fraud case, with the BBC describing this whole thing as the most spectacular trial ever held in Vietnam for one of the greatest bank frauds the world has ever seen. Right, and at the center of this, you have a woman by the name of Trong My Lan. She's 67 years old, and she was found guilty of embezzlement, bribery, and violations of banking rules, with prosecutors saying that the total damages amounted to $27 billion. Right, and so basically what happened is that Lan managed to accumulate over 90% of the shares of Saigon Commercial Bank. And that, even though Vietnamese law prohibits anyone from holding more than 5% of the shares in any bank, with prosecutors saying that she circumvented the law through hundreds of shell companies and people acting as her proxies. And then with that power, she appointed her own people to senior positions, who she then ordered to approve hundreds of loans to the network of shell companies that she controlled. And over a period of 11 years, from 2012 to 2022, those fake loans reportedly accounted for 93% of the total credit the bank had issued, with Alon herself actually keeping $4 billion of cash in her basement, which just is a fun fact, a way to contextualize this. Even if all of that was in Vietnam's largest denomination banknotes, that would have weighed 2 tons. And then on top of that, she allegedly sent a $5 million bribe to a former chief inspector at the central bank, which also notably that inspector has been sentenced to life in prison. And also, it's important to note it's just not those two. Lan was actually tried alongside 85 others in this case, with nearly 2,700 individuals, including 200 lawyers, being summoned for this 5-week trial. And all the documents related to the trial kept in 105 boxes, apparently weighing over 6 tons. Which also brings us to the broader context of this trial, which is that it is part of a massive push to crack down on corruption in the country. In fact, it's a campaign known as Blazing Furnace, and it's led to the indictment of thousands of people and the resignation of 2 presidents, with experts saying this is the most wide-reaching anti-corruption campaign in the history of the Communist Party of Vietnam, which is also why this trial has been so widely publicized. They want to put on a show. They want to make a statement. In fact, David Brown, a retired U.S. State Department official with long experience in Vietnam, telling the BBC, there has never been a show trial like this. In the communist era, there has certainly been nothing on this scale. So with that, I think, with so much information coming from the state and state media, it is good to take all this in with a healthy degree of skepticism, but also with saying that there's really nothing to indicate that the charges against Lan are politically motivated. And though she's denied the charges, her defense apparently has been that she joined the banking industry without sufficient experience, with her blaming a, quote, lack of understanding of legal matters. Though I will say, it is very hard to imagine someone pulling off a scam like this by accident. Though this also, as there is a massive debate around the death penalty in this case, with depending on where you go online, people very split on this. Right? Some saying the death penalty for crimes involving money, that's absolutely crazy. But then you go somewhere else and others very supportive of it, arguing that statements like this have to be made in a world where large companies and top executives usually just have to pay fines. But with all that said, I gotta pass the question off to you here. Where do you land on this?